Hello world and welcome to this week's Geek Movie News. Starting off this week with some news on a new Tomb Raider movie. Now, as those gaming fans of you will know out there, Crystal Dynamics has released the new Tomb Raider game. It is a reboot of the franchise, focusing on the origin story of Lara Croft. And they've come out and said they've been working with GK Films on using that adaptation to work into the new movie franchise of Tomb Raider. So basically there will be a reboot at some point in the future using the Lara Croft from the new video game series. Now, the reasoning behind this is that obviously Crystal Dynamics wanted to have the films closely linked to the video games, so not using the old Lara Croft, the Angelina Jolie Lara Croft that we saw in the first two movies, who was based very much on the PS1 and PS2 era titles, having obviously closer links so that if you watch the film and think, wow, this looks like a brilliant idea, what a great game it must be, I'm going to go and play it, that the character plays as you'll see it on the big screen. For me, I would much rather see an origin story of the actual films we've already seen. I mean, it can be gritty if you want it to be. It doesn't need to be a complete reboot, but, you know, reboot and remakes, Hollywood loves them. Now, Pride and Prejudice and Zombies has been in development hell ever since 2009. There's been news that it's going to be made, that it's got directors, it's got screenwriters, but nothing has ever happened. That is until now, and Panorama Entertainment have come out and stated that they will be working on finally getting this book on the big screen. But they're dropping one of the ands from the name, so it's going to be called Pride, Prejudice and Zombies. Panorama, Dark Entertainment and Handsome Charlie Films will all be working together and getting this project onto the big screen. Natalie Portman will be producing, so possibly she will actually take up a role in the movie. This is all good news. There are a lot of people that actually love this book and would love to see it on the big screen after the success of Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. I think that this really does have an audience out there, and you know, zombies are still hot property. Get it on the big screen before it moves on to something else. Some bad news for fans of The Equalizer. And for those of you who don't know, The Equalizer was a fantastic TV series on CBS from 1985 to 1989, starring Edward Woodward. Now, Rupert Wyatt, who directed Rise of the Planet of the Apes, was meant to be directing this movie for Sony, with Denzel Washington as the main character. Unfortunately, he has walked away from this project. There seems to be some scheduling problems between him and Sony, and therefore this film can't go into production as originally planned. A similar thing happened with the Planet of the Apes sequel, and therefore he moved on to this project. I mean, the guy seems like he just can't catch a break. Star Wars news this week, and this is a really strange story. Basically, Carrie Fisher has come out and stated that yes, she has been approached to be in the new Star Wars trilogy and that she has agreed a deal. Then Disney came out and said that they have not agreed any deals with Carrie Fisher. Also, that they've not spoken to Mark Hamill or Harrison Ford. Finally, George Lucas came out and stated that he'd spoken to all three of them and actually had a meeting in August with Hamill and Fisher discussing the fact that Lucasfilm would be sold to Disney at some point in the near future and that they would be carrying on the Star Wars franchise under a Disney Lucasfilm joint banner, and basically started negotiating deals. Who to believe? Well, personally, Disney maybe is trying to keep things under wraps, so isn't wanting to confirm anything yet. All of the actors involved are going to want a role in this movie, I would assume. Harrison Ford being the one that really doesn't need it, but hey, why wouldn't he? He's going to go back for the new Blade Runner. Why not be in the new Star Wars as well? Lucas, he sold the company, he doesn't care, why would he lie about it? For me, Disney, just confirm what we all know and that a lot of us want. The original actors from the original trilogy return into their roles for the new trilogy, then we can all get even more hyped than we already are, and hopefully you can't disappoint us any more than Phantom Menace did. Dawn of the Planet of the Apes news, as it seems Kerry Russell has been cast as the main character in the sequel to Rise of the Planet of the Apes. Now, not much is known about the character at the moment. All that is known is she will be an integral part of the resistance movement that has been muted as being a huge part of the human element of the story. There's also been some news on the actual storyline. Obviously, it will be taking place in San Francisco, and it will look at the resistance movement going up against Caesar, played again by Andy Serkis, who, as the leader of the apes, is starting to lose some of his sway over some of the other apes. MGM announced this week that they plan on remaking Poltergeist, that classic 1982 horror movie. Now, this isn't the first time that they've discussed remaking this film. They spoke 2 years ago how they would like to do it and how they were bringing Sam Raimi on board as a producer to get this into cinemas ASAP. Obviously, that hasn't worked as they've struggled with both a screenplay and hiring a suitable director. Now, at least one of those problems is solved because they've hired Gil Keenan, the director of Monster House, to direct the new Poltergeist remake reboot, bearing in mind that haunted house movies have become hugely popular due to the Paranormal Activity series. It is no surprise that this is going to be remade. If you don't go too much towards the Paranormal Activity route, if you do stick to the roots of this franchise, it could be a good remake, a good reboot, even though I hate both of those things. Quite a bit of Marvel Cinematic news this week, starting off with X-Men Days of Future Past. Now, it seems that James McAvoy may have let slip a member of the cast who hasn't previously been announced. That member, Alan Cummings. Now, for those who don't know, Alan Cummings played Nightcrawler in X2 and has been open to coming back as the character ever since. He has mentioned that he would love to return to the character and see more about what happened to Nightcrawler after X2. He wasn't in Last Stand. He obviously hasn't been in any of the other movies, the origin story movies either. And for me, this is fantastic news. Nightcrawler, one of my favourite characters from the X-Men comic books. It always seemed very strange that he just wasn't around in Last Stand. Nobody even mentioned him. And we'll finally see some idea of what happened to him, even if it is in an alternate future. After last week's blow that the Planet Hulk movie probably isn't going to happen, Mark Ruffalo has come out this week and stated that basically there is no planned Hulk movie anytime soon. Now, that doesn't mean that they're not planning to do one in Phase 3 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe after Avengers 2, which is what most people predict anyway, but he has stated there is no plans, he has not seen a script, he has not been given a treatment of a storyline, nothing at all at the moment about the Incredible Hulk. Hopefully, Marvel, you are out there working on a Hulk movie. I mean, he was the most popular character coming out of Avengers 2 and wasn't the most popular character going in. So why you are stalling on this, I don't know. Hopefully also this means that the Hulk TV series, if it is, as a lot of people say, going to be scrapped, that you've got some of the ideas already down there that you could transfer into these movies. We want to see a fantastic Hulk movie. The last one was very close, but now we've got possibly the most popular Banner Hulk combination of all time. Get on it. Possibly sad news for fans of Ghost Rider, as Nicolas Cage has come out this week and stated he is done with the role of Johnny Blaze / Ghost Rider. Now, that means that he will not be appearing as Ghost Rider in any upcoming movies if they are going to adapt the character for a third in the franchise. He's also stated that although people may say that this is because the last movie didn't make a lot of money, that's untrue. It was made on a budget of $46 million and made nearly $200 million. So, yeah, it was financially successful. If critically panned and, you know, having seen it, it's not the best movie in the world. You can watch it. It's, you know, it's better than a kick in the teeth, but the character could have been handled better. Also, I believe that, you know, Nick Cage, as a huge fan of Ghost Rider, did the role justice. People do get on his back. He's not the worst actor in the world. He has had some fantastic performances. It's just sometimes he does seem to sort of ring in his performances. But he loved Ghost Rider. He put a lot of effort into it, and thank you, Nick Cage, for bringing a character I read in the sort of 90s, early 2000s that I never thought I'd see on the big screen to the big screen. Bond 24 news, and it seems that Sam Mendes has turned down the opportunity to come back and work on the new Bond movie. Now, obviously, he was hugely successful with Skyfall, which is an absolutely fantastic modern classic espionage movie. But he's apparently turned down a very generous offer to return to the next movie. He didn't rule out returning at some point in the future. In fact, he stated it was one of the best moments in his professional life working on Bond, and he loved the cast, the crew, everything involved in it. Just that at the moment, he doesn't have time in his schedule to return to another Bond movie, which obviously they're going to want to crank out fairly quickly because of the success of the last one. Although Oz, the Great and the Powerful has only just been released, Disney is expecting it to make so much money they've already started work on a sequel. That's right, they don't know how much money it's going to make, and yet they're already working on a script for another movie in the franchise. A Hollywood Reporter has stated that Mitchell Kapner, who worked on developing the story for this movie, is working on the second movie in the franchise as well. No news on if the stars of this movie have been signed onto a contract for a sequel, and no news if Sam Raimi will be returning to it either. It's very, very early days, but obviously Disney thinks that this is a franchise that they can milk like they do to many of their franchises for all it's worth, and that it will be a huge success on the big screen. Only time will tell, I guess. Matt Groening has come out this week and spoken about a possible sequel to the Simpsons movie that came out in 2007. Basically, he said that it isn't in development anytime soon, that while the development for the last movie was only 4 years, it absolutely killed the crew that worked on it. It was very, very stressful. It took a lot of effort to get, obviously, a series that was continuing and a movie out in that period, and you're more likely to see another movie in 10 to 15 years time rather than in the next 2 or 3 years. Simpsons fans like me, you'll be very sad about this, but obviously we've still got the series. It is still continuing. We're not going to be starved of Simpsons on the small screen. We just won't be seeing any on the big screen anytime soon. Finally this week, some great news for any fans of the original Evil Dead franchise, as it seems we might get a 4th movie in that franchise. Even though there is a remake of The Evil Dead coming out in April, the original cast and crew have been talking about the possibility of a 4th movie, and that 4th movie actually being Army of Darkness 2, a direct follow-up to the 3rd in the trilogy. Rob Tappert, who is Sam Raimi's business partner in Ghost House Pictures, has actually stated that Evil Dead 4 has always been on the cards, but it's always been Army of Darkness 2. It's not a return to the formula seen in the first 2 Evil Dead movies, which is fantastic. Also, Bruce Campbell, genius, we all want to see him back as Ash Williams, has come out and said that basically Raimi has spoken to him numerous times over the years, almost on a sort of 6-monthly basis, saying, let's make Army of Darkness 2. And that he would love to return as Ash Williams. Brilliant. I love Army of Darkness, and I love the original Evil Dead movies. Ash Williams is one of the greatest characters in modern cinema, and one of the most fantastic characters in horror movies ever. Make this happen. Okay guys, as always, thanks for watching. Down there is the like button. Click on that and let me know that you like this. Also down there in the description box is a link to my Facebook, my Twitter and my Tumblr. Follow me, follow this channel, find out what's going on in the world of me and Geek Movie News. Also down there is a comment box. Leave me a comment. You can also leave me a video response. Tell me what you thought. Tell me maybe some stories that I might have missed. Let's start a conversation. There's a link up there to last week's Geek Movie News. There's also a link there to my last Geek TV News. And if you click on my face, there's a link to my last Geek Movie review for Stoker. Thanks for watching, and as always, au revoir.